Council regular meeting of the City of Wyoming, Minnesota, December 16th, 2025. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum. Member Onstead, Member Schilling, Member Luger, and Mayor Iverson, Member Yeager, and Mayor Iverson are present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so first on the agenda is open forum. It's an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on items that are or may not be on the current agenda. Items requiring council action may be deferred to staff or boards and commissions for research and future council agendas if appropriate. You will be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask that you conduct yourself in a professional, courteous manner and refrain from the use of profanity. Failure to abide by this policy may result in the loss of your privilege to speak. Do we have anybody here tonight that would like to speak? Please come forward and state your name and address, please.
Matthew Folsom.
Okay.
And address is 6880 231st Lane Northeast. And I am also representing the Forest Lake Hockey Association.
Okay. And what can we do for you?
We'd like consideration to be able to use the outdoor rink. So to rent it, have organized practices on it. Currently, we're short on ice time, severely short. We have grown significantly over the last 3 years. We've gone from 450 kids in our association to over 700. I have 110 kids from Wyoming. Right now, we have 2 sheets of indoor ice, and we're renting ice at every other city and township in the area. So we rent ice 2 hours a night from Scandia, 4 days a week. We have a fully dedicated rink for our use at Forest Lake, and we're renting ice 1 night a week in Linwood. So we are looking for at least 1 night a week, or just whatever we can get, an hour per night, but we are very, very short on ice. Our kids right now only get practices on the weekends. 1st grade, 2nd grade, some of the 3rd graders get practice during the week. Every association that we play, they have more rinks than us. They have 2 to 3. They have 2 to 3 outdoor rinks, and they have 3 to 4 indoor rinks. We have about half the ice time. So our kids are behind, and they're struggling. So we want to be able to use the ice rink that you have. So we'd like you to consider that. I know it's a policy change from currently it's just open to the community, but I think we can probably work with you to try to make that work. Other item that I would like to address too, and this is from the Hockey Association. Currently, and this is part of our need to try to reduce costs for our players, and also in the future we're going to need to build more rinks. But charitable gambling is something that has benefited a lot of the other hockey associations in the community near us. White Bear, Stillwater, everybody we compete against, even North Branch, is able to do that. We're struggling to do that because FLAW has every single establishment available in town. And currently, the rules only allow 1 charitable organization per establishment per the ordinance in the city. We would ask that you would consider to allow up to 2 charitable organizations per establishment. Because there's only a couple establishments really in Wyoming. And so if FLAW has both of them, we don't have an opportunity. And neither does any of the other charitable organizations in town too. So if the fire department or the Lions Club or anybody else wants to participate, right now they don't have the opportunity to do that either. So 2 items that we'd like you to consider, but priority is our kids need ice, so please look into that. And we need your help on the charitable gambling too. So that's, state of Minnesota encourages organizations to work together, and the model is to have more than 1 establishment, or more than 1 organization per establishment. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Linwood, Mr. Lunan, kind of not quite sure where any of that goes, so I'm assuming there's liability, insurance liability, and all that kind of stuff. So is that something that is even doable? And why, and I'm gonna go to the gambling. If there's one and you wanna go to two, why not 5 or 6 or 10?
Yeah, I think, I can't speak, because I guess it's the first time we've been asked in regards to the charitable, in regards to what, I think we're probably just talking about pull tabs or maybe other things if there's silent auctions. That's something that we've never had requested, I guess, before in regards to what, if there could be a change. That's something if the council was inclined, we could look at the ordinance and, look at changing that from 1 to multiple to 2 or more than that. I think that's, I think that's, I don't know, I guess, Mr. Lunan, I'm not sure if in any of your cities, if that's the norm. I think more often than not you see one, but I don't want to say that because I guess I'm not an expert on that. In regarding the ice rink, I guess as long as I've been here, the thought has always been that that's a community ice rink, and it's never has been. The policy's been it is not rented out to them, because I know that in the past.
Available to everybody at any
It
time.
sounds like not only, Forest Lake Hockey, there's other establishments, kind of like our soccer and baseball fields, that come from all over the area looking for that time. And I think in the past, that's been the policy where we just had it for the community. So once again, that would be up to the council, but that's
Okay.
what we have done proceeding up to this.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, did we rent out any of our fields to anybody?
Ball fields somewhat limited, but soccer fields, yes, some soccer fields. Not as much as before. There was one, Lakes, I think, that they were utilizing some different fields last year. Some, but not as much as usual last year, or this year, I should say. But
So we
this
have rented
season.
out community fields too.
We have rented out our community fields. It's not the ice, because we only have the one rink, and it's usually
Okay.
heavily used by the community. And
Yeah.
I think that's been in the past, that we've just, based on that usage by the community, to have, to open it up to one, I've talked about that it might open up to others, or do we have to consider others, and if we open up to one?
But we have
organized?
more than one field to rent out.
Correct, we
then
have
there's
many
plenty
soccer
left
fields,
over.
many baseball fields, correct.
Out of curiosity, are you guys open to weird hours? Like when
So,
we don't think
most-
anybody's gonna be using it?
Most of the use would be by our youngest kids, because that's where our numbers are. So they can't be on the ice really after 8 o'clock. So we're looking for a 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 7
Okay.
o'clock start. To your question on insurance, they're covered by USA Hockey and Forest Lake Hockey. So they're covered by insurance, and that's what covers them wherever they go. So we'd give you a certificate of insurance that would establish that as well. As far as the use, every other city and township has been able to accommodate us. They still have significant users as well. There's also the pleasure rink that's available. So if they want to skate, they can skate on that, while the boards, that rink is being used. So
Okay.
that's what we've established at other
Okay.
towns.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
we
I-
appreciate it, and we'll have conversation. Don't know which way that'll go. So, all
Thank
right. Yep, thank you. All right, we will move on to approval of minutes. Number 1, consider approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for December 2nd, 2025. Are there any questions or changes? If not, we need a motion to approve. We have a motion to approve by Member Onstad. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Consent agenda number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Does anybody wish to pull an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Acknowledge receipts of reports of officer boards, commissions, and department heads. Number 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Does anybody wish to pull a report from our officers? Seeing none, we'll move on to communication. Number 15, Wyoming Library Extended Access Project Update. Mr. McFarland, is that you tonight or Mr. Linwood? Who would like to take
I
that?
can handle them, Mr. McFarland.
All right,
I don't
thank
think he
you.
was prepared to discuss it, but he is aware of it. As you know, the library has been looking at extended access hours. So just to give the council an update, they are getting close here to have their their beta testers, if you call it, to start participating in that. An update from Carla Leiden, the executive director, anticipates they'll start that on January 5th, 2026. They'll do that for approximately 3 months just to kind of see how it goes, see if everything is smooth, see if there's issues. But all the necessary components as far as the software, electrical updates, cameras, that has all been installed and implemented and ready to go. So just wanted to give council some information as you've been hearing about that probably for the last year. So that's it.
Perfect. Questions from council member Onstad?
No questions.
Member Schilling?
No questions.
Member Yeager?
No questions.
All right, thank you for the update. We'll move on to new business. Number 16, to consider resolution 25-12-136, a resolution establishing surface water rates for 2026 through 2030 based on the rate study completed by Erickson Northstar LLC. Mr. Linwood.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of council. As you're aware, the city went through an RFP process for stormwater rates to go through our next 5 years, as those are the existing ones are coming to an end in 2025. The city council selected Erickson Northstar to move forward and do that stormwater utility rate study. We had a work session on this for both Mr. Al Erickson and Mr. Nick Dragosich were here to discuss that. Tonight, we have Mr. Alan Erickson, here tonight to go through some of the outcomes of that and recommendations of the city council on any changes or increases in those funds to the city council. So with that, I'll let Mr. Erickson take it away.
Great. thank
Mr.
you.
Erickson, it's good to see you in person.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
At my age, it's always good to be seen, so
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me here tonight. My partner, Mr. Dragosich, sends his regrets. He's having fun tonight. He's, as you know, he's on the city council at Lake Elmo, and they're having their truth and taxation hearing tonight.
Yeah.
So away you go. So as Mr. Linwood had mentioned, we did talk about this extensively at the council work session in November. So I think that what we want to do is I'll try to move through this fairly quickly since we've talked about a lot of this before. Just to refresh everybody's memories, why we're engaged was to review and analyze the surface water utility fund for determine the appropriate rates that be needed to fund your operating and maintenance expenses, capital improvements that were being planned, any debt service that you had, which you do not, but might be projected for any existing infrastructure, and to provide for adequate cash reserves for the future. So as we said, we talked about this quite a bit at the meeting in November, and at that meeting, if you remember, we presented two scenarios. One was not raising rates at all, and that scenario showed that by not raising rates, you wouldn't be able to meet even your minimum requirements that you have for your own internal financial policies. And that a rate increase was needed in order to meet those policies. And the biggest policy of them is there on that bullet point that states that at the end of each fiscal year, each enterprise fund shall maintain a minimum cash reserve balance equal to 50% of the following year's budgeted expenses, 100% of the following year's debt service, principal, and interest, if you have any, and the 5-year average of the future capital outlay. So basically, we built our model to solve for that problem for you, and our recommendations were to increase the surface water rates by 2.6% from 2026 through 2031 each year, and establish your surface water rates not just year to year, but for a 3 to 5 year period, whatever you're comfortable with. However, knowing that at each budget year, the city staff will review those rates to make sure that everything is the way it should be, and that no very strange economic things that were unforeseen had happened. By implementing those, and we're not working now.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I know, at its best, right?
I'm
This is
a
Monday.
curse. Shouldn't be frozen, it's
I
warm.
was thinking, what did we get in our packet? Can we go with what's in our packet, the resolution?
I can neither sing nor dance, so I can't fill that airtime. So-
We have what's in our packet. Can you just go to the website and,
I
unless
can't
it's something
get to
different?
the screen.
Oh, you can, okay.
I'm gonna try to see if I can do it. I lost connection to that. Okay. Sure I don't.
I think it's just
There
tired.
we go. You're just gonna run from there, Rob?
You're fine.
Hey, look at that, Grant, it's not you.
It's always good to know.
Oh, it shows on my screen, but not up there for some reason. Let's try this one last time.
Is it, it's not showing on the other screens then? At all?
It's
If
not on,
just-
no,
oh,
there we go.
Yeah, why don't we just go from here since this seems to be working? I apologize for the,
It's okay.
are you able to,
What, as long as you got it, I'm not gonna
if
wreck
you just wanna tell me
anything.
next slide, we can.
Yeah, once you go to slide 5 then. So you've seen slide 5 and 6 before, and that was the last time. And this is the operating revenue, the operating expenses. Revenues in green, expenses in red, and as you can see, that the 2.6% keeps you in the operating positive basis all the way through the plan here, through 2031, as as is required by your policies. And if you go to slide 6 then, and that shows the cash balances, and they're above what you need, or what your policies state you should need, and it provides a little bit extra there in case there's any unforeseen disasters or anything else that might happen as well. And you see there's slight degradation in the cash over time, and that's mainly due to the capital improvement plans. You don't issue debt, you have no plans to issue debt, but you're using the cash you have available to pay for them. That saves money in the long run by not having to pay interest. So, and again, the capital improvement plan was developed by city staff with your city engineer. Now, 2 things we didn't really talk about at the last meeting, but I think we can touch on here, is if we go to the next slide, which is 7, is a comparison with neighboring communities. As you can see, the 5 communities are in blue that you've normally used as comparison cities. And if you look at the 2 gray bars at the end, that's the quarterly rates, stormwater rates in Wyoming for 25, and what they'd be proposed to be with a 2.6% increase, which is about 25 cents per quarter. So you're way under all of the other neighboring communities in this particular comparison. And please remember too that the rates for the other comparison communities are for 2025. We don't know what their 2026 rates are, but even with your 2026 proposed rates, you're still quite a ways below them. Finally, the word affordability is getting tossed around a lot, and I don't want to be political about it, but I'll bring it up anyway. Get this tightened up here.
It should just come out too if you want.
There we go. We're going to be fine. Everybody wants to talk a little bit about affordability. So there's a number of ways to define stormwater rates and water and sewer rates as being affordable. In the middle to late 1990s, the United States Environmental Protection Agency defined what they thought was affordable for people. And they said that was about 4.5% of household income for combined water, sewer, and stormwater bills. They determined that that would be affordable. So census data, current census data for Wyoming shows that the median household income is about $101,000 per household. That's the median income. If you take 4.5% of that, which is the EPA suggestion, that's $382 a month. If you look at your combined water, sewer, and proposed stormwater rates here, that's about $87 a month, which is way below the $382 that the EPA would say that would be affordable. Now, if you use that criteria, if you believe in that criteria and want to use it, that would mean that rates would be possibly unaffordable for anybody who had average household income below $23,400. Census data shows that you have about 123 households who have income below $25,000. So there may be some affordability issues under that criteria for a small number of households in town. There's been a more recent measure of affordability determined, and that was developed by a bunch of organizations cooperatively, including the American Water Works Association, National Association of Clean Water Agencies, and the Water Environment Federation. They developed a matrix that I tried to determine what was affordable, and that includes, the matrix includes the percent of households that are below 200% of the federal poverty level. They get down deep into the weeds here. And then they compare that with the cost of the water, sewer, and storm sewer as a percent of household income versus the lowest quintile income, the LQI that you'll see, and that's, of course, the bottom 20% of income. So if you look at this, and that's what we used on the two. Go up one more, back to 8, Rob, for just a second. If we take the water, sewer, and the surface water monthly cost at 2026 rates and use a water usage, average monthly usage of about 4,500 gallons a month, and that's what we consider for essential water use, which is drinking water, washing your clothes, using the toilet, things like that. That would be about 2.1% of the LQI, or $49.90 a year. And you've got 22% of your households are below 200% of the federal poverty level, which right now is about $51,300 a year for a household of 2.82 persons. So if you go to the last chart, then that's what the matrix looks like. So as you can see there, where the yellow highlighting is, it would say it's a moderate to low burden because you're between 20 and 35% of the households that are below 200%, and you're less than 7% of water and sewer costs as a percentage of the lowest quintile income. But I'd also say here that even though it's kind of in the middle there, it says moderate to low, you're at the very bottom level of that middle at 21%, and you're at 2.1% instead of 7%. So I'd say you're really kind of on the low burden according to that particular judgment. So I don't pretend to know what's affordable for any individual person. However, these are two supposedly authoritative agencies that have come up with different ways of measuring affordability, and you actually measure quite well according to that too. So with that, that's everything we covered last month with a recap and a couple of new things thrown in, and I'd stand for any questions you might have.
Council, we'll start with Member Schilling with any questions.
I actually don't have any questions. This was kind of a recap of the previous meeting for me, so.
All right, Member Yeager.
Okay, well, I see on page 9, if we do not raise the rates, revenue exceeds expenses until 2029. And I noticed that we buy a jetter truck. Is that the same as that vacuum truck we bought in 2021?
We bought a 15-year-old jetter truck. So right, so this time we are
You're going to buy a whole new one?
a new one, and we're looking at utilizing both the sewer fund and then also some of the stormwater fund for that, because you can, based on the use of that item, it's utilized probably about equally, probably a little more for sewer, but also significantly for stormwater activities too.
Okay, so that's the same one. Now, when we bought it, that one was supposed to last for 10 years. And obviously, we're replacing it before that 10-year mark.
I think that particular item, I think based on some of the continued, we have done some maintenance on that, and I think just the expected life, I guess, Mr. Olmgeld, I guess I would defer. I don't remember if he said 10 years. I'm assuming he did based on your comments, council member. But we would be purchasing one then slightly earlier than
Right.
based on that original of that used piece of equipment. Because like I said, I believe that one was about 15 years old that we
Okay,
purchased it.
because from the memo from April 1st, 2021, it talks about we would need to get 10 years out of it for this to be a feasible project. And then it goes on to say that the expense would make the unit have a payback of 8 years. So our maintenance costs getting really high enough that that's not sustainable anymore?
I think it ebbs and flows. I know that our superintendent isn't present tonight, but I know that there have been some years where just those, as they age, they become more expensive to maintain and utilize. So, I think, like I said, it ebbs and flows. There's some years where it's ran quite well. There's other years where we put more dollars and more money into it.
So basically, it has issues.
Off and on, it does have issues,
Yeah.
yes. It is an aging piece of equipment, and notoriously, as those get older, they're just known for having continued maintenance on them.
Okay, so basically, the rate increase, is it basically to pay for this truck? And then the other big expense was a boom mower?
I think there's a component of capital that's within the rate. I think there's other things that we've identified within the annual in regards to inspections and other types to make sure that we're in compliance with that MS4 permit. So the capital is a component of that, but there's also inspections that need to be completed that we've had identified by our city engineer that are necessary as part of this as well. So there's a combination of both just expenses through that and then some of the capital costs, correct?
Okay, but it's not solely just to buy a jetter truck?
Correct. That is not just solely for the jetter truck. There are components of this that we have raised in the year-to-year maintenance and operation of the
That have
MS4
gone-
permit as
That
well.
have gone up?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Ronstadt?
Just to touch on the jetter truck, when we purchased it, I know that we had a problem with it collapsing. But have we used that thing a lot more than we anticipated, or about what we anticipated?
I think what we've anticipated, it's a pretty useful piece of equipment for a city, like I said, from, sewer, and then also just from stormwater. So it's been utilized pretty heavily within the field, is my understanding. But like I said, it is definitively aging, and with that, those jetter trucks just continue usually to have more issues. I know when we had a collapse on it, that was actually something that was covered by insurance, but, as time goes on, that's something that, right, it's just, there's usually more continued maintenance. And like I said, the last few years, I think it's been off and on. I think there was one year where we were okay here, and then I think it was, I believe, last year where it was really, we put a lot of maintenance into it.
Would you say that it's saved us money? Because we didn't have one before. and
No, I
it's
think,
about
I think with the use that we've gotten out of it, I think it was something instead of, these are a very expensive purchase and something at the time that we didn't feel we had the means to do. So I think in the short run, it was a good purchase and we utilized it fairly significantly. And it was purchased, I think, at quite a reasonable price. So I think it's been used and its normal life is coming to an end here.
That's unfortunate, but it sounds like it was still a valuable piece of equipment.
Yes, I would certainly think so.
How many times a year do we use it?
I guess on that one, I would probably defer to the superintendent, how many times they're actually taking out. I know it's obviously used for jetting. We, by our League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust, we have to jet a third of the city every year. I can't say how often in regards for, we haven't had a lot of backups for sewer, happy to say that, otherwise. But then in some of the storm and MS4 permitting, I know it's utilized there too, but probably a question for the superintendent. He'd be able to answer that a little better as far as how often it actually goes out. But the jetting a third of the city every year is significant for the sewer.
Because it was more, I remember the original discussion and whether it was more cost-effective or cheaper to rent it, continue renting it, rather than buying a very used piece of equipment.
I do remember some of that discussion, and I think that was something, and I think it came down to some of the availability with a rental in regards to if you did have an emergency and how fast they can, if I'm recalling appropriately. I guess, like I said, that was a few years ago, but I think that was part of the discussion. With the rental, you necessarily don't have the emergency response that we had if we did have it in-house. So that was, I think, part of that conversation, but I know that there was conversation on both ends to look at rental or to look at the used jetter truck back when that was purchased.
Yeah, I remember that. That was it.
Okay, thank you. I do have a couple of questions, Mr. Erickson.
Yes,
Can we go back to the comparison cities, please?
that would be
Yeah.
slide
So,
7.
yep. So I think what I want to point out is, we look at our other cities a lot. Our taxes, property tax, all that just came out, and to your point, there's a lot about affordability, right?
Correct.
When I look at that, when I look at the cost comparison and I look where our city is, I think that speaks volumes as to how Wyoming approaches the affordability here. So my question would be, let's say we didn't raise this at all. So what would happen if we ended up not having the money down the road? What are some things that we would have to not be able to give our residents?
Well, with anything, this particular utility is for stormwater utility. And I kind of hinted how old I was earlier at the meeting, but I'm old enough to remember when I was running cities that back in the 80s and the early 90s, we didn't have stormwater utilities. And the reason we didn't is because the federal government hadn't passed the Clean Water Clean Water Acts and things like that, and then they mandated all the cities had to start doing things, and in the same breath said, oh, by the way, we're not going to give you any money to do it, you just got to do it. So by not raising rates or by not doing what's in the planned maintenance and capital improvement things that your city engineer is recommending that you do, you wouldn't be in compliance with certain permitting things and certain laws that are out there to do that. So you appear to be, at least on a comparative basis, and from what I can see, extremely competitive in how you're doing this and cost effective for how you're doing it. And I believe that that's probably cheaper for you than it is to fight the attorneys at the federal level who want to
Right.
tell you you're not in compliance with certain clean water permits and things like that. So
I do know I'm on the board of the Minnesota Mayors Association. We have a lot of conversation about unfunded mandates,
Right.
and how we are the closest to our residents, which I'm not going to say get blamed for it, but it's hard to understand that, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember when we were talking about being a whatever that
MS4.
MS4, yeah. It was hard to wrap our head around it, and then how much more the cost would be.
Right.
So I would say very proud of those numbers that we do have in comparison to others, because I think that goes back to the fact that we do try to be as affordable as possible with our residents. So totally appreciate what you did on this. Mr. Linwood, one other question. If we weren't planning ahead, because there have been times when the city has not planned ahead, not during this council, what did they do? If they weren't planning ahead and they needed something, what would typically be? They'd have to go out bonding, raise the property taxes, really, what?
Yeah, I think this is just the normal proactive approach to the council and the city as far as trying to make sure that we're looking at these things and doing studies like this and hiring professionals to do it, that we position ourselves where we don't have to necessarily be reactive and, to your point, all of a sudden look at a very large increase or look at something where we would maybe have to take an equipment loan or bond for something if it was capital. So I think this is very pragmatic and good that the council has always been in support of doing this for our utilities, to do these studies and make sure that we're in a position to kind of keep these items steady and not have them be volatile over year to year.
Perfect.
Yeah, and
All
if
right,
I
thank you.
just add to that, having spent most of my career in the municipal bond industry, there's nothing wrong with debt, and there's nothing wrong taking it on a planned basis when you need to do it. But to the question you asked, if you haven't planned for something, intentionally didn't plan for it, and it came out of the blue, and you had to go to the debt market to do that, you're at the mercy of whatever the market happens to be at that time, and it doesn't allow you to properly plan and take advantage of the marketplace and the good times when the markets are good. So.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's one of the things, I've said this quite often, that I'm proud of this council and to our city staff for leading us down that direction to make sure that we have those plans. So with that being said, I'll move to approve Resolution 2512-136, a resolution establishing surface water rates for 2026 through 2030 based on the rate study completed by Erickson Northstar LLC. Do we have a second? We have a second by Member Onstad. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So approved. Thank you very much. Merry
Thank you much.
Christmas.
Appreciate it.
Number 17, to consider Resolution 2512-137, a resolution receiving the feasibility report, setting the public hearing, and authorizing the preparation of plans and specifications for the 2026 street improvement project. Mr. Erickson, we had a great open house. We were all set and ready to go.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and
Yes.
members of council. We did send out 246 invitations for that neighborhood meeting. We had, I believe, 4 households here?
Yep.
5 people?
Yeah.
So it was a little bit underwhelming, but.
They were all happy.
Nonetheless, it was a good meeting.
Yeah.
And so I just want to quick highlight the results of the feasibility study here in a short presentation. I might go through a couple slides really quickly because I don't see residents here from the project. I thought I'd have another opportunity.
Oh, yeah, Spangler's
We do?
here.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You're on the
So-
project area?
And
Yeah,
so
so
is
you
it.
gotta-
Yeah.
Well, I didn't
am too.
recognize you from the other night, I
So
guess.
so you gotta go through.
I didn't
every
realize you were
single
on the project
slide.
area. Okay, well, we'll go through in a little bit more detail then, and I'll hit some of those slides that I mentioned I may
I
not,
think
so.
Spanglers are like, we've been here through every single one.
You've seen a lot of it, yeah, so I'll spend just a little bit of time on that then. Do you have the slides, Rob? Oh, I can,
Oh, look
you
at
do
that.
have it now, okay, okay. So our project location, and again, the council authorized us to prepare a feasibility study. We held one neighborhood informational meeting, and now this evening, we're asking city council to simply receive the feasibility study, set the public hearing, and move forward with the final design. And we might just sit back on the final design, even though you may authorize it this evening, sit back on that a little bit to, again, wait till we hear a little bit more details from property owners and make sure we understand what direction the council is gonna move forward with as far as ordering the improvement. And so just wanna make sure that is clear. So the project location, you can see shown there, all streets in red are proposed to be mill and overlays. So similar improvement to what we saw last year in the Hawk Meadows neighborhood. So just wanted to quick highlight that. It is simply a mill and overlay, and again, that's to take advantage of a lesser costly improvement rather than waiting until it deteriorates to a point where we can't do this type of mill and overlay improvement effectively. So our project schedule, you can see here, we have the first informational meeting was completed there just last week on Wednesday. This evening, receiving the feasibility report and setting the public hearing. And you can see, as we move forward through this process, we get to the point where we'd be having that public hearing that we hope we're able to set this evening on January 20th. Our intent is to have plans and specifications approved either the first or second meeting in March, and then advertising for bids, getting bids back, and awarding a contract sometime in April, and then beginning construction during the summer months when school is out. We know that's a very large neighborhood, a lot of students with busing, and we just want to be cognizant of that, try to minimize the impacts. This is a little bit more impactful project than what we saw with the Hawk Meadows project. They're both mill and overlays, but this has a lot of infrastructure within it. So we have to adjust all the gate valves, adjust all the manholes. We're gonna replace all the rings on all the catch basins, and so there's a lot of curb work, and it's gonna be a little bit of a maze to get through there. And so we wanna make sure that we're trying to do that and minimize the impact, and that can be done by minimizing or avoiding that school season. Next slide here. Just a little background for property owners. I know, again, you are aware of this. You've been at a lot of meetings, but we've been aggressively taking on road improvement projects over the last decade plus. And so we've made significant headway on that, but there's continued roads that we need to maintain and operate. And so we develop what's called a capital improvements plan. Those plans are developed based on road ratings that we do every 3 years. We rate the roadways on a scale of 0 to 100, and then we look at roadways that could be improved. And we couple that with resident complaints, city council bus tours, and so public works feedback. There's a lot of things that go into developing that capital improvements plan. And the plan that we're looking at is not a worst first. There are roadways that are worse, but those improvements are going to be the same whether we do them this year or next year. This project is getting to the point where we risk losing it, where it's gonna be a much more costly improvement. So that's why we've prioritized this, and we've had these conversations with council regarding that. These streets were constructed in the 90s, early 2000s, and so again, your typical lifespan where you're wanting to mill and overlay in that 20-year range, and so we're a little bit past that, and so we want to make sure that we're taking care of those while we can. We have identified some minor drainage issues. We're hopeful that property owners will continue to reach out to us. We heard a couple of comments at the neighborhood meeting, and we hope to hear more at the public hearing.
Here we have just a number of slides that just show the surface deterioration of the roadway. You can see as we go through the project, you can see we did a complete survey of the project area using a drone, and that works really well for mill and overlay type improvements. And so you can see the top is the drone. You can zoom in and see the condition of the roadway. We can verify if property owners had a crack in their driveway before or after the project. And so those are really helpful tools to have for us. But you can see the surface deterioration that we see here is primarily shallow potholes, surface delamination, and things like that we can address with the mill and overlay. There will be some full depth pavement removal where it's not appropriate for a mill and overlay, and so there's going to be not a one size fits all, but we certainly feel this is a good candidate for a mill and overlay. And that was sorry, Grant, that was me. I hit the wrong button. Feeling good. Again, just photos here you can see of the existing condition. Just wanted council and residents to see the condition of the roadway and understand why we're doing the type of improvement that we're proposing. You can see the cracks from the aerial image here. So what are the proposed improvements? We're looking at a bituminous mill and overlay, milling off the top 2 inches of pavement and replacing that pavement. Simple, easy project, but I mentioned all the manhole repairs, the spot curb and gutter replacement, so there are some deficiencies to the curb and gutter. We'll be replacing about 20 to 25% of that, so either 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 panels will be replaced. On average, it includes the concrete pedestrian ramps. There's currently some ADA issues out there. They don't meet ADA requirements, and so with the sidewalk that's there, we'll be making sure that that's in compliance. There is an option for trail replacement. There's a lot of rear yard trails, and so we'll talk a little bit about that. Pretty significant effort to undertake, but it's certainly more cost effective to include it with the project, and so we want council to at least be aware of that. We're not asking for you to make a decision on that. Just again, this evening, receiving the feasibility study, setting the hearing. The improvements, this is just the typical section, what exists there today, and it really just shows various typical sections of the roadways that are present. This roadway happens to be about 32 feet face of curb to face of curb. It includes a sidewalk on one side. You can see other sections here where there's sidewalk and a trail on the other side of the roadway, and other portions that just have the roadway and no trails. And so similar improvements to all of them, just a simple mill and overlay of the roadway and spot curb and gutter repair. Those that have sidewalk would also have repairs made to the sidewalk. The project funding is consistent with our policy, and I'll quick highlight that, but it is 20% of the surface improvements and the drainage improvements are accessible. And so we'll make sure to highlight that. There are other costs that are not accessible, and those are water main improvements, sanitary sewer improvements, trail improvements, and so we'll touch on that. Assessments are based on the city assessment policy, and we assess based on the unit, not front footage. So each property would receive 1 unit assessment in this scenario. I don't believe there's any partial assessments with corner lots because we're improving both, I guess all driveways within the project area are onto the roadways that we're proposing. And then city funds paying the remaining portion of the improvements. I'll quick highlight the properties that are included in the assessment. It's all those highlighted here. And you can see in the southwest corner, there's a number of parcels that are on private roadways or private eyebrows where they're, I don't know if I can point with this, you probably.
Yeah, there's one next to me. There's one in the bottom corner.
Yeah,
It's
so
next to
there's
me.
those private drives, those parcels have HOA responsibilities for those private drives, and they're responsible to repair their internal roadways. But our policy, we do also assess them because their only access is via our public roadways. And so they continue to be assessed and part of the improvement project. So our total cost of the project, I want to quick highlight that because it's not really shown in here. The total accessible portion of the project cost is $2,065,410. If we multiply that by the 20%, it yields a $413,082 in total assessments for the project. We have 248 accessible units, 2 of which are city-owned parcels, and so we do also assess ourselves, because we want to make sure that we're fair, keeps the assessments down a little bit. So we have a total of those 248, we have those 248, we have the 248 units, resulting in an assessment of $1,665.65. You do one slide for me, while I get this going. And so our assessment policy, and our assessment public improvement process does follow chapter 429 of state statute. There are options for property owners regarding that. If they do have an objection to the assessment, they certainly can provide this in writing, their objection, prior to or at the assessment hearing. There's 2 hearings that are required. One of those will be January 20th. One will be in the fall of 2026. And so that assessment hearing will take place in the fall. And property owners do have the ability to object. But as far as payment goes, they have the ability to prepay assessments within 30 days of the assessment hearing, or they get applied to property taxes. The city certifies those assessments to the county. And the interest rate would be set at the time of the assessment hearing, and those have typically fallen recently in that 5% range. In a project of this size, the term would likely be in that 5-year range, because it's an amount that is much less than what we've seen on previous projects. Just highlighted that. I think our projects, again, have ranged over the last decade in that 4 to 5.25% range. This is really just the improvement process. We're very early on in the stage here, and so if we're inclined to set the public hearing, we'll send out notices here in the very near future. I do want to highlight there's some other options with the project, and so we do have some sanitary sewer televising that is currently occurring. Again, those are non-assessable costs, and so once we get the results of that, we'll determine if there's any additional project costs associated with sewer repairs. We want to make sure we address those before the road is repaired. Similarly with storm sewer, so we're televising both the sanitary sewer and the storm sewer. We do identify about $25,000 in water main improvements. There's some valves that are not working. We want to make sure that we address and correct those while we go. And then there's also this trail improvement that I talked about, right? Almost $400,000 to repair the trails there. And so that's a pretty significant cost. It is certainly more cost effective to include with the project than doing it at a later date. And so we'll talk more about that as we get to the public hearing. There's some complexities with that, with fences and locations of the fences and things of that nature that we'll get into a little bit more in future meetings to discuss how we want to handle those situations. But again, the overall project cost is, $2,474,993, including the trail and including the water main improvements.
Perfect. Mr. and Mrs. Spangler, do you have any questions? Okay, I didn't think so, but just thought I would ask just in case. Okay. Questions from council. We'll start with Member Onstad.
No questions.
Member Schilling.
No questions, just real quick, Mr. Erickson. Ironically, I had this meeting on my schedule, and I don't know how we missed it. So I do know the next one's in January 7th. But I did speak to 3 of my neighbors, and it's funny because I know you guys mailed stuff out. I've received twice something in the mail that I've gotten about this project. And 3 of my neighbors that are friends, they were like, "What are you talking about? We're doing a road." I'm like, "Do you open your mail at all?" I mean, I've received it twice in my new place.
Yeah.
So, very interesting, but I'm liking the way it's looking. So, looking forward to the new road next year. Can't
Any
wait.
suggestions on ways of communicating other than, I had a meeting last evening as well, and the resident was actually there, and he said, "I apologize, I didn't come to any of the other meetings I was invited to. I usually don't check my mail that well."
Oh, my
And so I think it's common, right?
Yeah.
And so I just, it's the best avenue that we have. We do ask property owners to sign up to email lists, but we need to connect with them first,
Right.
right? So I think that's a good way of communicating, but hopefully property owners like yourself are sharing the word, right? We
Yeah,
encourage
so what I
others to
did
do
was
that as
share
well.
the link from our city site, and then I sent them
scanned copy of the documents you had already sent out, and I said, if you have any questions, let me know, so.
Do you have we are meeting with the HOA representative here in the near future. I can't remember the meeting date that we had, but I think my intent is to talk to them and see if they would be willing to, I'm sure they have an email blast as well, right?
Yep, they
Potentially.
do,
So
yep.
we'll work with them to try to improve attendance at these, because we really do find ourselves much more successful when we have a lot of engaged residents there to help us with scope and understanding any other issues that we might be not aware of that they see because they live there.
Well, and one of the things I was gonna bring up with that is, those little bump-ins, they wouldn't be included technically, because that is the HOA responsibility. So I think a meeting with them to get them to do those portions.
That is the purpose of our meeting.
That
actually, is
would
to
make
discuss that.
sense
Yeah.
to me, and as a member of that association as well, so.
Great.
Okay, perfect, thank you so much,
You're
appreciate it.
Member Yeager?
All right, so this was rated fair in the pavement study?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact ratings. I think it was in the 50s, if I recall. Anywhere in the fair range, which is where we need to be if we want to do a mill and overlay. If it's poor,
Okay, so
it's too late. Yeah,
a mill and overlay is appropriate when it's rated fair?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
The other question about the trails, since I spend quality time on them every day,
Yeah.
can you just do certain spots of the trails? Like there's one spot I know where it tends to collapse by the city property.
Okay.
But instead of, it seems like a lot, 400 and some, to that would be repaving the entire system back there?
It would. That is what the estimate is including, and so we're certainly happy to look into other avenues. We've worked with our public works staff who've reviewed it, looked at it. We've had some other staff from WSB with them on those tours and walks and really tried to identify, and they felt that it probably was more appropriate to do all of it rather than parts of it. They know that they're just looking for signs of fatigue and failure. The trails, of course, are as old as the roadways as well.
Yeah, I remember.
So, yeah, you're aware. We're certainly open to any suggestions and feedback. Certainly if that's something that council would like us to look at closer, we certainly can. It is a significant cost. It is challenging to construct a trail, right? When you have a paving piece of equipment there to pave it, you can't get around it with a truck, right? It's hard to get material to a paver when we're doing these things. And so it is certainly challenging, backing in a truck all the way along this windy trail to get back to the paver.
Yeah.
And so you also have to have strong enough subgrade to support the truck that's loaded in these areas that aren't often the case. And so it certainly is challenging, and that's why you see the costs the way they are. We're hopeful we can get it a little bit less, but we're cognizant of the issues associated with it. And so we have a pretty healthy cost there, what we feel would be appropriate after talking with a couple of contractors and getting some initial feedback on that.
Some of it's wide enough, I think you can get the truck through, but some of it's very narrow, for example, where Mr. Schilling used to live, where it's all fences in there.
Yeah, and those fences, it's one area that we will need to discuss, because that is an area that is not constructible because of the fence locations. Those fences are actually not located on their property. Their property line is actually further back in, so those are areas where we might look to have those fences relocated to the property line to allow us to reconstruct that if we move forward with that portion of the project.
Okay, but there'll be a fuller discussion at a future work session or
Yeah, we have
meeting?
another informational meeting, I believe, January 7th. So we'll discuss that with some property owners. Hopefully we have some good attendance at that meeting, and we'll work with HOA to get another email out as well as the mailed notice. And so we'll send that notice out to invite them to the 7th meeting, and then we'll also include that in that same mailer, the public hearing date. And so we'd like to have the informational meeting in advance of the public hearing so property owners can see the result of the feasibility study and the assessment amount so that they can come to the public hearing being informed about what the project scope and costs are.
Okay.
Mr. Erickson, just a quick question about the trail, the 400,000. That is not something that's being assessed to the 248 properties, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
That is something that, because it's property that every resident gets to use, basically, that's why it's not charged to those 248 residents.
That is true. That is a non-assessable cost per our assessment policy, and similar with other 2024 project had some trail work there near Burgess Park, and that was not accessible as well.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so since this is more extensive, where's the money coming from?
It would come, I believe, Mr. Lynn would correct me if I'm wrong, but it would come from our street fund, correct?
Okay,
Past practice where it does come out of our street fund, and then we just look at, like Mr. Erickson said, you know, the mobilization costs we save at these, and these trails, I think they're, to your point, council member, I think there's some areas that are okay, and I think there's some other areas that are in very poor shape, and so I think Mr. Erickson, I even actually walked those with our public works staff to look at a few of them, a few of the fence areas to see the tightness on how we would
Yeah.
have to go about constructing those, and some of the fences not on individuals' property lines, so, but I know that, like Mr. Erickson stated, some individuals also from WSB kind of reviewed those pavement conditions on those trails.
The issues with leaving some of it is driving all the heavy trucks
Yeah.
and construction equipment over what we feel is already a fragile trail system, that
Yeah.
it may not hold up to that traffic. And so those are some of the concerns we had and why we might recommend doing the full trail, if we do the trail.
are there grants to be had for
We
improving the
always,
trail?
when we get to this point right here, we do always invest and look in to what grants might be available. And so we can certainly tap that and see what we can do for that. They are challenging to find resources, certainly for roadway improvements, but where we do have a little bit more success is with trails. Oftentimes they're with new trails and not reconstructing existing trails.
Yeah,
But we'll certainly look to see what might be available.
okay.
All right, if there are no further questions, we need a motion to approve Resolution 25-12-137, a resolution receiving the feasibility report, setting the public hearing, and authorizing the preparation of plans and specifications for the 2026 street improvement projects. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Onstad. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Last on our agenda is number 18, to consider approving the reclassify the existing police property and technology technician, come on, that's a lot.
Just that
crime-
alone, we gotta redo it, right?
Crime analyst position to the public safety manager, there we go, only 3 words. Effective January 1st, 2026. Chief Bauer,
That's
your
me.
turn.
I would like to acknowledge that I'm a little lonely over here tonight.
Yeah, you look it.
Okay, Mayor Iverson, members
Yeah.
of council, I'd like to bring this forward for any discussion and looking for this approval tonight. As we've looked at the current staffing of our department, currently we have Callie Resney in the police property and technology technician crime analyst position, which is essentially 3 different positions crammed together. And initially, that was just focused on evidence management, technology oversight, and analytical support for our investigator. As time has gone on, essentially, her role has expanded significantly, and what we're looking to do with this reclassification is to calibrate what's currently being done and also add a couple additional roles to her, some that I am doing right now, and that will just be reshifting a lot of what she's already doing into this position. Essentially, this position, we did figure in on the approved 2026 budget, the increase in the salary. What we did was look at the public safety manager position in a variety of different cities. Really is a oversight administrative leader within the organization. This position is part of the supervisory team, the command staff of the department, and does administrative, managerial, and compliance oriented functions. She's already doing most of these things already. Audit preparation is a significant component of her position through the BCA. She's very involved in our hiring and decision-making in our hiring processes, our records management oversight, and in general, a lot of operational oversight as well. She works in collaboration with our 2 police sergeants on a regular basis, and is very involved in the decision-making in the department at this point. What I've been looking to do is, with this position, also adding the supervision and leadership for the administrative assistant position. So the administrative staff that works in the front office at this point, she would be supervising that position. Let's see, currently, as we look at this, so the process was to come up with a job description that accurately reflects what she's currently doing in addition to that supervising this the administrative assistant position. We submit that for review, and then the salary range comes back from that process. So we submitted this, and looking at the salary increase for the current position, she is at, for 2026, would be $35.62 an hour. For 2026, for the public safety manager position, for the first step of step 5 or 5-step position, would be $42.51 an hour. Essentially, the other big parts of that would be that increase is because we've increased the minimum qualifications for this position. So going from, it was a high school degree with some work experience, changing this to a bachelor's degree, a 4-year degree in criminal justice, public administration, or business administration, or some other related field, 4 years experience in public safety with administrative and managerial responsibilities, knowledge of public safety operations, data practices, which is a giant beast to understand, and then the compliance requirements. Ability to lead, supervise, and develop staff, overall organizational staff, and managing records management and other aspects of the office as well. Let's see here. I wanted to touch on a couple other things. Also would be assisting me with some of the performance measures that we've been working with fire. That has been I've been doing that, but I'd like to shift some of that to her as well. And this overall supervision of the administrative assistant records clerk. Let's see here. Essentially, we're looking at really just, this is a lot of what she's currently doing, and we want to try and retain her. There's a lot of discussion that if we ever did lose her in this department, we would be in a really difficult spot. She holds a lot of institutional and organizational knowledge, and she's very confident in her work, and it is a difficult process to tell cops what to do and tell sergeants what to do on a regular basis when you're not one, and she has absolutely no problem doing that, and they respect her for it. So it is that reflection of her work that she's currently performing. So ultimately looking to reclassify this position to public safety manager effective January 1st at that updated rate of $42.51, which is also an exempt position because it is a supervisory role, so it's not entitled to overtime. Versus her current role, she is entitled to overtime. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Chief Bauer, I'm going to start tonight with questions. So first thing, I always applaud being able to advance our employees that are in a department.
Right.
And I've talked with her many times. You can see the confidence in her grown over the years that she's been in that position. So applaud what we're doing. My only real question is, will we be sending her to some leadership training? Because I think that's so valuable for any of us to go to training.
Yes, she's already enrolled. There's a program through Eckberg Lammers with LETAC. It's called the Sergeant Academy, so it is specific leadership directed at law enforcement. While that's not her position, it is very relevant. We already have her enrolled in one in January. And also we'd be looking at, there's I have a education kind of plan for all of our new sergeants and her as well as
Okay.
they transition to these positions.
And my other question would be, because public safety manager, the Minnesota Mayors Association has a group. We have city administrators that have a group. There's a lot of different groups that you can go to, be able to have conversations and learn from others. Is there such a group like that for the public safety manager position? Or you know what I'm getting
Yeah.
at? Like, it's important to be able to have peers that you can talk to as well?
Right, so the position, she will still maintain a lot of what she's doing already, so we're going to continue her membership in the analyst group as well, because she'll still be doing some of those functions. The evidence technician, we maintain her membership for 26 and that group, because she'll still be doing those functions as well. And then this managerial position, it is a lot of different job titles depending on what the department structure is. But because we do have both police and fire, that's why it's called public safety
Yeah.
manager.
Okay.
So there are some networks that she will maintain, yes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I could never do that role, just saying. So, all right, we are going with Member Schilling next.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, Member Yeager?
You know, in your presentation, you actually answered most of my questions.
Excellent, I'm happy to do that.
Are you going to be looking for another crime analyst?
No, she will continue to do those functions.
Okay. My problem is, I have no problems with the reclassification, and I have no problems with the raise. I have a big problem with 19.3%.
Sure.
That's it.
Okay. And Member Onstad, you get
Just-
to close this out.
Just a couple quick clarification questions. You said it had a 5 or 4-year degree and 4 years of experience?
Correct.
Or?
Both.
Okay, both
Yes.
together. That wasn't sure about that. And will the pay scale, that's comparable to a regular officer, where does that lay? Is it comparable with sergeants, or is that comparable to the officers?
It is ballpark right, kind of in between them. It's not quite sergeant, but it is in between them. And it is, within the org structure, it would be on par with the sergeant work group.
And everything else would, COLAs and steps would all be following the same path?
It is there's 5 steps. It is not a represented position, so it's not, there's no collective bargaining.
That was my next
Yes,
question.
correct.
was, yeah. So, thank you for
Yes.
that.
Okay. No further questions. We need a motion to approve the reclassifying of the existing 10 words to position of the public safety manager effective January 1st, 2026. Do we have-
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member
All 10
Onstad. Do we
words.
have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
So approved. We're gonna go really quickly because it's getting kind of late. We're gonna go quickly to council reports. We're gonna start with Member Onstad.
I went to the tree lighting, and I attended the work session just prior to this meeting.
Perfect. All right, Member Schilling.
Work session prior to this, I unfortunately missed the tree lighting this year because I had another event. And thank you all that came out earlier today, that was packed in here, and those of you that are there, and hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you after the first of the year then, right?
That's right.
It's our last meeting of the year,
That's
so.
right. Member Yeager.
Oh, I went to the tree lighting ceremony, I went to the 5:30 work session, and thank you all for coming, thank you all for watching, thank you all from Liberty Ponds, if you're watching, that you all showed up, and I hope you all have a happy holiday season.
All right, I also attended the tree lighting. I also attended everything that you guys attended. We'll just leave it at that, as well. I do have a question for Mr. Erickson, really briefly. We're gonna get a lot of rain, like inches of rain. And my understanding on our street project that just got done, that everything clogs up before all the snow. Now, there's a lot of snow, all the drain ditches are, clogged with snow. So with all this rain coming, is there anything that residents should be doing to kind of not have a ice skating pond?
Yeah, good question, and I know that I've had conversations with our public works staff and more related to like falls and leaves and
Yeah.
things blocking these drains, because they, rainfalls do collect leaves and debris and brings them to the inlets, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of times they'll get clogged, and so if residents see that, certainly, remove material. I think snow is probably a little bit less of a concern. It's not bringing as much debris, but they can freeze as well, right? And so certainly just alert City Hall if you're seeing road low points where catch basins are. If they're frozen and not taking water, certainly notify Public Works. They have means to unplug them.
Okay,
And
good.
whether it's the new jetter or a steamer or
Yeah.
things of that nature, they have the ability to do that.
Okay, my understanding is like an inch or two of rain.
I did not see that. I haven't been tracking the weather,
No.
so that's significant.
What do you mean, no? It's
No,
not
we
gonna be a
have
lot of rain.
official
snow
We've-
for skiing and snowmobiling, no rain.
We all know me, I prepare. Okay, so good to know, I really appreciate that. Mr. McFarland, we didn't hear from you today, and that makes me sad. Any updates you have about the plows or the success of the tree lighting? You did another great job. I mean, you are you just do really a great job when it comes to these events and stuff. And then any updates on the mayor for the day contest?
Yeah, I can share updates on, I believe, all those things. Thank you for including me today.
Yeah.
Mayor, members of council, in terms of the tree lighting, it was our 9th annual tree lighting that we held not this past weekend, but the one before that. It was a great turnout, even though it was incredibly cold, and by the end, I think I was frozen solid, so
You were
I'm
cold.
sure everyone else was too.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we have the fires. But thank you to all the cloggers that came out, the Dance Factory, all of our sponsors as well that helped make that event possible, and Santa for stopping by as well. But it was fantastic, and we had a great time. In terms of the Mayor for a Day contest, we did reach out to the 4th and 5th graders. 6th grade moved to the middle school, which made it a little bit more difficult as you have to then try to wean out who's Wyoming and who's not. We did not receive any submissions this year, so unfortunately, we don't believe that contest is going to move forward this year, but there's no saying we can't try again in 2026 then for this as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Yeah, so to everybody watching, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. I'm always very grateful for being able to sit up here and with my teammates, my colleagues, my council members, and our city administrative staff to represent one of the best cities, I think, in all of Minnesota. So with that, I'm going to make the motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, begrudgingly. All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.